Yo, so Spiral Dynamics 102. Last night I had a breakthrough. I am, I've, I'm redefining numbers and what they mean. So in the current system of mathematics, we base everything about the way that we view every single number on if that number is even or odd. Okay? That is the defining factor of the way that people understand math. And I think that that is incorrect. I am changing it. They're finite and infinite numbers. This needs to be our new basis. But I'm going to use the words even and odd, one as a bridge, so that you already have an understanding of where we're at and where we're going. So, in your current understanding, if in your current understanding of numbers, when it comes to the product of multiplying numbers, you have more even possibilities than odd possibilities. In your current understanding of mathematics, an even number times an even number equals an even number. An even number times an odd number equals an even number, and an odd number times an odd number equals an odd number. So when you are multiplying, you have a 2/3 chance of landing on an even number. And so this is my problem with math and the way that the world teaches math and the current understanding of mathematics. And is you think that you have more evens than odds. You think there are more chances of landing on an even number than an odd number. But I'm here to tell you that the opposite is true. There are more odds than evens. I don't know how well you can see it. Finite, Fi, the finite numbers, I am relating to even numbers. The infinite, In, I'm relating to odd numbers. So in my system, finite times finite equals finite. So even times even equals even. Even times odd equals odd. In your understanding, even times odd equals even. In my understanding, even times odd equals odd. And then odd times odd equals odd. Okay, right off the bat. In my study of doing this, I was building this board. So that I could start teaching y'all about the relationships of numbers and how to get to know them and how to form an emotional attachment to your numbers when you get to know them personally, right? But in my study, I came across Spiral Dynamics 102 because I'm learning this. I'm teaching you as I'm learning. I came across this last night. I was on this board last night for like 4 hours. And you'll see why. But I found out 5 is an even number, 6 is an odd number. I know that breaks your brain, but it's true. Even and odd are even numbers. The way that I understand it, they're just called that. They're called that because you can evenly break a whole. Like if you have 100, you can divide it by an even number to evenly break up that number. Like with your even numbers, you get squares, right? Your even numbers give you squares. And then an odd number, literally all an odd number, it just means it's not even. Like your whole system is based on even numbers. Like 2 plus 2 is 4, but 3 plus 3 is 6, because any number plus itself is going to equal an even number. Like an odd plus an odd is an even, and an even plus an even is an even, because y'all think that there are more even numbers. Like 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, even plus even, even. But 3 plus 3 is 6, and 5 plus 5 is 10, because odd plus odd is even again. And so we all have this association with even numbers as because they're like so foundational. Y'all, and then like I said, when you multiply, even times even, 2 times 2 is 4. But even times odd, 2 times 3 is 6. Even again. Like, you just have this affiliation with even numbers constantly. But your definition of what makes an even number is wrong. And I can prove it. There are more odd numbers than even numbers. When you are paying attention to the behavior, okay? So I'm going to go back to the example of treating numbers like kids, right? I did that in the last video. These are all children in school. One is 6th grade, and then you graduate high school once you hit 10. The 3, 6, 9 click. You know what I mean? The successful 8, the successful 9. Like, okay, so when we're forming a relationship and we're treating these numbers like they're people, okay, you start learning the behavior of numbers. And to me, there is nothing more pure than looking at the behavior of the number itself. Because if you have a kid who really, really wants to be a doctor, right? But his parents want him to be an engineer, and they're not going to pay his college fund unless he goes to engineering school, right? Like, you have the behavior of that child that wants to be an artist, or he wants to be a doctor, or he wants to go play basketball. You have the behavior of that kid, and then you have what their parents are forcing them to do to go to engineering school, right? So what's important is the number itself. Well, what's that number want to be? Does that number want to be an artist? Then stop forcing him to go to engineering school. Let him go to art school. Like, getting to know your numbers and their personality traits, you start realizing that they reveal who they are, okay? So, one. We gotta start at 1. 1 is no longer 1, okay? We now have 2 different versions of 1. This is alpha, the dot. 1 is no longer 1, this is alpha. I'm sorry, I can't even start at 1 yet. We gotta start at 0. I'm sorry, I gotta backtrack. 0. Okay, 0 is no longer 0. I want to bring you down here so you can kind of see this, but you're gonna see something else, so just don't mind the middle of the board. Just look over here. So, oh, well, I can't really do that, can I? Anyway, you have 2 different types of 0. And I've wrestled with this one for a little while, because when you do mod 5 mathematics, 0 comes at the end. But when you do mod 10 mathematics, 0 is at the start. And it moves, because absolute true 0, I'm renaming as void. The void. 0 means nothing. 0 is emptiness, okay? Theologically, philosophically, 0 is nothing. There is no Big Bang. There is no God. There is no source. There is nothing. Okay, expand your mind for a little while with me. 0 means nothing. We can't have existence because there is nothing to ever give existence to. 0 is the void. So we are renaming 0 that comes before 1 that 0 is void. He is going to be represented, if we have to represent him, by a flat line. We're going to represent 0 with a flat line, because what we are saying is that this place value, there's place value here, but that, that place value is nothing, because the symbol for nothing is nothing. There is no symbol to represent nothing. If we have to represent it, we're going to do it with a straight line, indicating that there's a place value here, that we're talking about nothing. This is probably why they couldn't agree on 0 in the past, is because this 0 has 0 value. Okay? But then you get to 10, right? We have 0 again in the form of 10. Well, sorry, that one is sideways. Okay. Look at this 0. We now have a 0, but it indicates a value. This 0 is part of a 10. A 10 has value. A 10 is 5 plus 5. A 10 is 8 plus 2. A 10 is 9 plus 1. A 10 is 5 times 2. 10 has value. The void has no value. The only way to get to void is to have a positive number plus a negative number. Positive 1 plus negative 1 gets you to void. Positive 2 plus negative 2 gets you to void. Nothing. 8 plus 2 is equal to 10. We have this 0 in here. We're renaming him as cipher. The definition of cipher is to have no meaning. Okay? To be a placeholder. This cipher means that this is a placeholder, indicating that this has value and that it can change. This can be 11, this can be 12, this can be 13, but right now it's cipher. It is one cipher. 0, there are now 2 different ways of writing 0, because there are 2 different meanings of 0. You have the void 0, and then you have the cipher 0, a placeholder. 0 now has 2 meanings. I'm not going to say 0 anymore, because we're going to talk about which 0 we're talking about. Are we talking about a cipher, or are we talking about the void? Okay. 1. 1 now has 2 meanings as well. It changes, because the dot and the line. My God, I can't draw straight lines. Okay. The dot. This is no longer 1, this is alpha. Alpha is special. Alpha is not counted as a number. Alpha is the opposite of 0. Think about that for a second. Alpha is the opposite of the void. Okay, sorry, I said that wrong. If you have the void, if you have nothing, alpha is the opposite of the void. I can't just say everything, because the word everything doesn't fully encapsulate what that means. It means everything. It is everything, okay? Everything is alpha. None of these numbers, anything from here on out, is alpha. Everything's alpha. Because 4, this just means 4 ones. This is alpha 4 times. 4 is alpha times 4. I'll have to try and break that down into better linguistics at another time, because 2 is just 2 alphas. 3 is just 3 alphas. 4 is just 4 alphas. Everything is alpha. We have these words like 4, 5, and 6, But what we mean is how many alphas do we have? How many units do we have? Alpha is the only number, when you divide it by itself, is just alpha again. 1 divided by 1 is 1. That's it. Alpha is the first perfect square. Alpha is the first perfect cube. Alpha is the representation of the first full circle, the first whole thing. And alpha is just 1 times 1. It's just alpha times alpha. It's just 1. It has no other numbers in the way that it works. It's not, you won't find a 2 or a 3 or a 4 when you're working with alpha. 1 times 1 is 1. The only way to get another number is to add alpha on top of itself. Alpha plus alpha is 2. That's the only way, is start adding alphas. But besides that, when you're dividing alpha by alpha or you're multiplying alpha by alpha, it's just alpha. It is what it is. It's the opposite of nothing. It is everything. And it is never odd or even. It's never odd or even. I wrote that for a reason, because most people will recognize that's a palindrome. Coincidence? You tell me. Alpha is not odd or even. The same way that alpha is not prime or composite. Okay. To be a prime number, you have to have 2 different factors. 2 is a prime number because its factors are 2 and 1. 3 is a prime number because its factors are 3 and 1. You have exactly 2 factors. A composite number is having more than 2 factors. 4 is composite because it is 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. So the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. It has 3 factors. A prime number has exactly 2. A composite number has more than 2 factors. Alpha, 1, is neither prime nor composite because it doesn't have 2 separate factors. It's just 1. Okay. Alpha is neither prime nor composite, and it's not odd or even. It's its own thing. We're not talking about the value of 1. We're talking about the value of everything. Because from here on out, every single number can be multiplied by alpha to get it back to itself, because it's all just alpha. Okay. So now we have 2 separate ones. The 1 indicates value. The 1 indicates something separate, which is why 10 has a 1 in it. The 11 will have a 1 in it because you are now adding units. We cannot think of alpha as a unit in that way. We can't. We're working on it because it is the unit. Everything is built. It is at the first square. Every single from here, everything is now 2 squares. We went from the void, nothing, to now we go to alpha, everything. Alpha is the start. It is literally the start. It is the first fucking thing that comes out of the void is alpha. He's the first thing that comes out of the void. And then what's he do? He starts building on himself. Because 2 is just 2 alphas, and 3 is just 3 alphas, and 4 is just 4 alphas. Because he just starts building himself, right? He is everything. I can't talk about him like he's an actual number, because he's not the number 1. The number 1 is an indicator of value. Okay, so when we get to 10, we can use a 1. When we get to 11, we can use a 1 because we understand that we're talking about 1 more unit. 9 has 9 units. And when we need 1 more unit, we get up to 10. And when we get to 10, we need 1 more unit, we get up to 11. We recognize that we are now adding units, and we need to be able to define that single unit as a 1. So The same way that 0 is either void or cipher, 1 is now either alpha or 1. Okay. When I started breaking down numbers, I was breaking them down by even and odd, and that's when I encountered that 6 is an odd number. Even numbers are stable. They are finite. Okay? We are redefining what makes something even and odd. What makes something even is its finite ability, its terminating point. Okay? When you divide 1 alpha, when you divide 1 by 2, you get 5, a terminating number. It goes to 5 and it stops. But what happens when you go to 3? 1 divided by 3 is now an infinite number. It is not a finite number anymore. It's 3 repeating. And nobody in this universe knows how to work with infinite numbers. So you just put a little line above it and you just pretend you round. Everybody in this universe is rounds, repeating numbers. But guess what? The numbers, that is the characteristic of the number itself. It doesn't round. The only reason it rounds is because people round it, right? But when you look at this is an infinite number. You want to talk about this world being physical or infinite? Our rational numbers and our irrational numbers, no stopping points? Well, guess what? So after you come out of 1 shows up and he's like, all right, I'm going to start building shit. Boom, he builds a 2. And 2's like boom, 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 boom. Even numbers, stability. 2, 4, 8, square, cube. He just starts building. And then, but you get to 3, the first circle, right? 3 is your first circle. The first representation of infinity. Squares and cubes represent finite. Circles represent infinity. Squares have stopping points. This is 2 units wide and 2 units tall. A circle has no stopping point. You can walk around it forever and never reach the end because it's based on pi, an irrational number. Irrational, no stopping point. So 3, when you divide 1 by 3, boom, you hit infinity for the first time. So we go from, if we're not counting alpha as an actual number, because this isn't 1, this is alpha, you start at 2. The first number is 2, and it has a finite stopping point. It has a terminating point. That's the correct term, terminating. Well, what's the next number after 2? 3. Guess what? Never terminating. Boom, now we're dealing with infinity. You get to 4. 2 times 2. Hey, look at that. 1 over 4 is terminating again, 0.25. That's its characteristic. It's a terminating number. You get to 5. Oh, look at that. 5 terminates. Because 5 is an even number. It's a terminating number. It's a finite number. You can build on 5s. You can't build on 3s. But you can build on 2s and you can build on 5s. 5 is terminating. We're redefining even and odd as terminating and infinite. Okay. 5 is an even number because he terminates. And you'll check this out. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. Because 2 and 5 are the only even numbers. That's it. 2 and 5 hang out. They are related because they are the only terminating numbers. And we're going to build on them from there. 6. We get to 6. Look at that. It's another infinite number. 1 divided by 6, 0.16 infinity. I'm not doing the little line across. I'm doing an infinity symbol on top. Okay. 7, infinity number. We get to 8. 8 is a finite number because 8 is a power of 2. It's a prime factor of 2. 2, 4, 8. Okay, once we get to 8, we have another terminating number. You get to 9, no, it's 0.1 infinity. Because boom, we're at infinity again. We have another infinity number. And then you get to 10. 10 is 2 times 5. Even numbers are 2 and 5. And so 10 is terminating again. Because 1 divided by 10 is just 1 again. You get back to alpha. You get back to 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by 10 is 0.1. Cipher 0.1. Because boom, guess what? We're just going to start again. When you're dealing with the first set of numbers, void through 10, these are the characteristics of them. So, when I was trying to figure out 6. Is 6 even or is it odd? And it clicked in my mind that 6 is an odd number because the characteristic of 6 is based on infinity. If 6 were an even number, it would associate itself more with its ability to build on itself. It's not stable. 6 is wearing a mask. He wants you to think he's even, but his characteristic is actually based on an infinite. So 6 is the kid. 6 wants to be an artist. He's an infinity number at heart, right? But this world, his dad, is making him be an even number. His dad is making, he's a multiple of 2. 6 has, look at this. In my list of characteristics of numbers, 6 has 5 characteristics of it. The only characteristic of a 6 is that it's a multiple of 2 that associates it with being even. That's the only reason 6 is considered even, is because it's a multiple of 2. But 6 is also a multiple of 3, and 3 is an infinite number. And all multiples of 3 from here on out, all multiples, are infinite numbers. They're all infinity. So I realized that the characteristic of a 6 is more associated with odd 3 and odd 9. 6 is more associated with 3 and 9 than it is with 2. That clicked in my mind. And 5 is more associated with 2 than it is anything else. 5 only hangs out with 2 and 0, 2 and 10. Because when you add 5, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. It's 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0. 5 ciphers, 5 cipher. That's all it is. But we can see what happens, like I said, when you divide 1 by 2, you get 0.5. So, I realized, that an even number is terminating. And the only way to get a terminating number is to be a prime factor of 2 or 5. Only the exponents of 2 or 5 get you terminating numbers. Okay? An odd number is an infinite number. They are going to be repeating forever. 1 over 24. 24 is an even number. So, 24 is an even number. So you would think that it would be terminating, because evens, we expect them to be like even. We expect them to be like simple to work with. But 24 has a 3 in it. Doesn't it? 24 is 3 times 8. And because it has the DNA of a 3 in it, it makes it a repeating decimal. 0.45, 45, 45, 45, 45, 45 for infinity. Because 1 over 24 is an infinite number. 24 isn't even, it's odd because it has 3 in its DNA. Okay. So I started coming to this realization that what we define things as even and odd doesn't make sense the way that it should. But defining something as even or odd based on its finite ability or its termination point makes a lot more sense. And so I created the sieve of Zechariah the same way that Eratosthenes created a sieve to be able to find prime numbers. I've created a sieve to be able to find finite and infinite numbers. All right, I'm going to move you, and we are coming down because the board extends. All right. Okay. This is the sieve of Zechariah. All right. Down here, I'll just walk you through what's down here. Everything is a 1 because 2 is just 1 plus 1. 5 is just 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So we can see that everything is just ones. 0, cipher, placeholder, void, absolute nothing. Alpha, everything. 1 has value. All right. So from 1 to 100, out of 100 numbers, you only have 14 even numbers. You only have 14 even terminating. You only have 14 terminating numbers from 1 to 100. I should say from 2 to 100 because I'm not counting alpha. I'm not counting alpha. He's not a number. He's everything. So between 2 to 100, there's only 14. And I will prove this really quick because any of these 14 numbers, let's pick 16. Okay, why not? Use my calculator. 1 over 16, terminating. He comes to a stop. All right, well, let's try 17. 1 over 17, infinite number. All right. 1 over 64. 1 over 64, terminating. It stops at that 5. All right. What about 1 over 65? Hey, look. It's infinite. Keeps going. When you define numbers by their behavior rather than what man decided that numbers should mean, when you pay attention to their behavior, you realize that you can only build on these 14 numbers. That's it. And everything else is an infinity number, is an odd number, because you have more infinity in your math than you have finite ability. The only reason that people work with finite ability with infinite numbers is because they round it to the next 100th. They round it to the next 10th because they don't know how to, they don't honor the fact that these are infinity numbers. Okay? So, only the prime factorization of numbers will make them finite numbers. So, when we have 80, okay, when you break 80 down to its prime factorization, 80 breaks down to 40 and 2. 40 breaks down to 8 times 5. 8 breaks down to 4 times 2, and 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 times 5 times 2 times 2. This is 2 to the 4th power times 5. 80 only has 2 and 5s in its prime factorization. And so 1 over 80 is a terminating number. It's an even number. All right. What about 30? 30, the prime factorization, you break 30 down to 10 times 3, and you break 10 down to 5 times 2. 30 is now 5 times 2 times 3. We now have a 3 in the DNA of the number, which means 1 over 30 is an infinity number. Okay, I have the rule. 1 over n, you will terminate if and only if the prime factors are 2 and 5. So n is equal to 2a times 5b, where a and b are greater than or equal to 0. There's your rule to finding even numbers. Here's the sieve. I listed 2's. We only have to do prime numbers. Anybody that understands primes, every other number is already taken care of besides primes. So you only have to pay attention to the factors of primes, basically. The only reason I put 10 in here was as an example to show you what I'm talking about. So the factors of 2, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. We move to 3. We move to 5, 7, 10, 11, and 13. I used the same color coding as above. The 11 and 13, I did them in purple just because I just kind of put them in here as an example. Your even numbers are in blue. 2, 4, 6 is not even. I'm calling it a dual. It is a multiple of 2, but its characteristic, its behavior, behaves like an infinite, not like a stable number, not a terminating number. So 6 is not even. It's odd. 8, 10, 12. 12 is in green because 12 is an odd number. It is 3 times 4, and it has a 3 in its DNA, making it odd. 14 is a multiple of 2, but it's an odd number because it is 2 times 7, and 7 is just special. If you watched my other videos, 7, he'd just be like that. 7's a prime number. That's what I'm getting at, is anything that's prime that is going to be an infinite number. Anything that's a multiple of a prime. So, we can see that 2's and 5's are even. 2 times 5 is 10, making it even. 2 times 10 is 20, making it even. 2 times 10, you can see it over here as well. 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 25 is 50. It's even because these are all just 2's and 5's. That's all. Their prime factorization is just 2's and 5's. But as soon as you throw a 3 or a 7 into the DNA of a number, it becomes an infinity number. 2 times 14, 28. Do I got a 28 on here? I don't see one. Okay. 2 times 14 is 28. So when we do 1 over 28, guess what? Repeating decimal into infinity. Because 28 has 7 in its blood, in its DNA, making it an infinity number. The green is your odd. The green is your multiples of 3. I don't have to list off like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and do the factors of all of them, because all the factors of 6 are already covered in all the factors of 3. All the multiples of 3. All the multiples of 6 are covered in the multiples of 3. All the multiples of 9 are covered in the multiples of 3. 3 covers every single multiple of 3, 6, and 9. And then 7 covers all the multiples of 7's because 7's prime and he likes to stand out. And that's why I went into 11 and 13, because those are your next primes, because these ones are going to be infinity numbers as well. The only way to get a finite number is that if it has 2 or 5 in its DNA, and that's it. 2 cubed times 5 cubed It has 2 and 5 in its DNA. Okay? 2 cubed times 5 cubed comes out to 1,000. Well, what do you think 1 over 1,000 is? Guess what? It's a terminating number. 2 to the 4th times 5 is 80. And we already did this one. 1 over 80 is a terminating number. The only way to get a terminating number is it has to be a prime factorization of 2 or 5. Anything else makes it an infinity number. There are only 14 finite numbers from 2 to 100. Which makes 86 of your numbers. 86% of your numbers are infinity numbers. There's a lot more infinity in your number system than what you people honor. Okay. Like I had said in the last video, 2 and 5 hang out. They are best friends. Okay? 5 is actually even. 2 and 5 are your only even numbers, and the factors, the multiples, not all the multiples, only the prime factor multiples of 2 and 5 are even. 6 is odd. He is an infinite number. He has infinity in his DNA. He may be a multiple of 2, but that doesn't make him an even number. So, to recap, I'm going back to the very beginning. Your system says even times even is even times odd is even, and odd times odd is odd. But in my system, when we pay attention to the behavior of the numbers, instead of putting man-made labels on them, when we actually look at the way that they behave, we realize even times even is even times odd is odd, and odd times odd is odd. Y'all have had it to where you have a 2/3 chance of getting an even number. What I'm telling you is the behavior of the numbers themselves. You have a 2/3 chance of it being odd instead. Spiral Dynamics 102. Let's get to know our numbers. Let's see what they are telling us about themselves instead of the ideas that we have about them. How about we listen to what they have to tell us about themselves instead of trying to come up with systems to put them in? How about we start hanging out with them and let us tell them what they mean instead of us trying to guess and make up stories about them?